Yo, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the channel, Flawed Man of God. I am your host, Stuart Davis, a flawed man of God, here to bring this channel to you. Place that I've created, little place on the internet for all of us to gather and discuss the faith. It's a nice, quiet little section of YouTube, but it's ours, right? We've got it, and glad to have you here, right? Like I said, this is a very informal, very casual stream where we to talk about faith and go through a project that we've been working on for a few years now, which is we're reading through the Bible, a couple chapters a night per episode, from Genesis to Revelation in order. And it helps us get context and everything. It's just a fun thing to do, and we'll read through it and react to it. I'll give my reactions, and you can give your reactions. And I say you can give your reactions because you can be part of this show as well. You can be part of the group, get in that chat, and hey, you can let your voice be heard. I'm looking for thoughts, impressions, opinions from folks who are just, dipping their toes into Christianity, all the way to people who are more mature and smarter in the faith than I am. It doesn't matter. Give us your experience. What is the chapter? What is what we're talking about kind of saying to you? What impressions do you have? Maybe what tradition and denomination teaches you specifically about the passage that we're going through. This is not a stream that's meant to be ecumenical, but it is supposed to be a place where we can all gather. We don't have to agree or be like, hey, we could both be right. That's not what we're saying here. And this isn't a debate channel either. This is a place just to get together, listen to the word, react to it, offer your opinion, maybe listen to hear whatever somebody else has to say, and see what you can learn from it. If you've got questions, by all means, ask them. I may not have the answer to them, but we can talk about the question at least. Maybe point you in the right direction. Maybe somebody in the chat will know. Don't know. Never know. Chill stream. Yeah. Chill stream without without the A logging, right? But I mean, that's what this is all about. That's what this is all about. Because look, we know that we've got, each denomination has its growing pains. Each denomination has its modernizers who are trying to come in and change things. It's good for us to support each other in that, and just to support each other in whatever we're going through. Doesn't have to be, if you've got a prayer request, you can be specific, you can be vague, doesn't matter, right? We treat this like a Wednesday night small group or a Sunday school. Most of these folks in the chat, they've been here a while. They've all got wrenches. It's a chat full of wrenches because that's the kind of, except for Fig. Fig doesn't get a wrench. Fig's been here longer than everybody else. He's been tuning into this show since 2021. He still he doesn't have a wrench. But folks, that's what this channel is all about. And look, I want to be very clear. I'm not a professional here. I'm not a pastor, not a biblical scholar. I haven't been to seminary. All right, what you hear from me is not somebody who is a advanced theologian who's written books and is well respected in certain circles. No, what I am is someone who's been a Christian all my life, and I can give you over 40 years of experience of being one for you. And I know that there are going to be things that I say that I'll probably be incorrect about. But I'm going to be as earnest as possible in however I approach these things. And but that's why I want to make sure I'm not steering you wrong. Right? I'm not here to be a substitute preacher, and the stream is not here to be a substitute for church. This is just a study. This is just a group. And I'm glad each and every one of you are here. All right. Been playing through, been giving Crimson Desert a bit of a rest. I've just been running into a bunch of bugs with it. And it's been, you run into a few quests that you want to do, and they're just, you can't get them to start. It gets a little frustrating. So I've paused on that. I'm going to let, I think the game is great. It's got great potential. I can understand why everybody's making the big buzz about it. I've had fun, but I'm going to give the developers some time to iron out those bugs. It's been doing some Nintendo playing recently, just playing some Mario, catching up on some games I just haven't been in. Took the kids, I think I remember I told y'all, took the kids to go see the new Mario movie. Loved it. A lot of fun. I do enjoy taking the kids to the movies. I do. And then, but you're always worried, because especially these days, what messaging is going to be in the movies, right? And when you're taking your kids, if you're going, I'm going, you can flesh that out. Like, you could see something like Oppenheimer, right? Oppenheimer was a great example of that movie. Me and my dad went to go see that. Very interested. It was a part of history that, I'm a big World War II buff, right? And love especially the aviation side of the history. Didn't know much about the Manhattan Project and everything that went into the development of the bombs. But so it was interesting. But then watching it, it's just like, man, there's just so much extra stuff that is unnecessary to tell the story. And it's because somebody just wanted to say it, and it's like, yeah. Or they wanted to show it. Like I said, gratuitous nudity for no apparent reason, no good reason. That was a complaint I had with Expedition 33. It's violent, but the language that the occasional F-bomb that just cuts dropped out of it, it's just obscenity for the sake of being obscenity, right? And I'm going to be a bit of a Puritan about it. I'd rather the stuff was not in games. But, if you're going to make a game, at least if you're going to put something in a game, make it mean something. Or the same thing with a movie. Make it mean something. Don't put it in there just because you want, more appeal. The story should be compelling enough on its own. The gameplay should be good and engaging enough on its own that you don't need to add that stuff in there, right? So, but anyway, all that to say, it's you're always, it's like, man, I wish there were more opportunities to take my kids to the movies, right? And because there's a lot of junk out there. But I got there's apparently a movie coming out about a bunch of sheep that are trying to solve the murder of the shepherd who was in charge of them. And it looks kind of like some sort of Babe spinoff, right? If y'all remember the movie Babe with the pig, that was this just looks fun. It's coming out in May, so I might take the kids to go see that at some point. Yeah, hopefully that's good. It seems like it's just with all the recent backlash over some of a lot of that messaging, it would be nice if some of these degenerates in Hollywood would realize that the media that the people want to consume is largely benign and just enjoyable. Doesn't need there's a lot of stories out there that can be told that you can have fun and just enjoy without having to try to reach into some deeper meaning, without trying to make sure that everybody's represented. Just tell the daggone story. Right? That's what I liked about the Mario movies. That's what I liked about the Lego movies. There's there's good kids movies out there, but it just seems like there's so few and far between because everybody wants to make sure that they tell it. Oh, watched Pout Pout Fish with my wife. It was like Nemo meets Angry Birds. It was horrible. I haven't even heard that one. Dude, I will say the Angry Birds movie, pretty good. I did like the Angry Birds movie. I was hoping that there was going to be a second Angry Birds movie. Maybe there is. Did there say a second Angry Birds movie? Anyway, um, doesn't get a whole lot of play. But I saw it, turned it on. I think my son was very young when that came out. Um, we've been going through a lot of the Studio Ghibli movies recently. There is a sequel. Awesome. Thanks, King. By the way, welcome, King. Welcome, Matt Felty, and welcome, Fig, into the chat. Fig's trying to keep up with us in fantasy baseball since he's in the league. We'll see how he does. Fig said, I actually love the Mario Galaxy movie. It was the first time in a long time that a modern movie made me feel happy and not miserable. That's what I say. Look, the first Mario movie did that too, but this was just a really good feel good movie. It was nice taking all my kids and seeing all of them enjoy it, and then remembering how much joy being a Mario fan, because Mario came out for Nintendo right when I was 6, or it was you were starting to see it in houses right when I was kindergarten, first grade, that time. And I remember in 3rd grade, I got my own Nintendo system with Mario 3, and it was great. Just growing up with that, and then seeing how much joy it's given my kids, and then seeing my youngest, who isn't even 3 yet, and she is just over the moon for it. To me, Mario has had a much greater impact for them in their childhood than Mickey Mouse has, which is unfortunate because Mickey Mouse used to be such a pretty impactful and representative of a family culture at Disney, but that hasn't been there in the last 30 years or more. So, but good on Nintendo. I'm looking forward to this the Legend of Zelda movie to see how that's going to be. I'm looking forward to the next iteration of whatever movie they're going to release. So, all that said, this has been it's been a nice Dresden. Man, we got all sorts of old faces here. All right, I was just thinking about you, Dresden, because King came in here and said first, and I saw that right before I started the stream, and I was like, man, that used to be Dresden. Dresden and Nico used to fight. They used to have a competition over who was going to get to the stream first. The Disney doesn't even try anymore. The live action Moana has a rock and a rubber suit. Yeah, well, and to be honest with you, I liked the original Moana movie. That was one of the few ones that they've done recently that I've enjoyed. But I haven't liked any of the live action stuff. Any of it. I think my wife and maybe the kids enjoyed the Beauty and the Beast, which I guess that's a little bit more, but replacing Robin Williams as Genie was never going to work. And with Will Smith, who is a shell of his former self, that wasn't going to do anything. And just seeing some of the other products out of that, and I'm just not at all interested in seeing any of these live action remakes. Obviously, Snow White, what an absolute disaster that was. Dresden says, he who shall be first shall be last, and he who is last shall be first. Well, hopefully you're not the last person commenting in here. You're not the last person thing. If you are, it is what it is. But we always love the bigger crowds. And what a night for it, too. We've got Daniel, chapter 1. Yes, King. Last in heaven, the first in hell. Yeah. We are starting Daniel. So we have moved past the major prophecy books, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and they've done a great job illustrating just the state of Israel and Judah at the time, and through the perspective of a righteous mind looking down on his people and being disappointed in their behavior. That's the best way to put it. Disappointed in how to build stuff. Yeah, we ended on about to build stuff. Really, you'd think that would be part of Nehemiah, right? Because, but look, far be it from me to tell God how to do things. It's all perfect, God. But yeah, I mean, but it's a lot of disappointment. But it also is the redemption. The books of prophecy are full of great things to really reinforce your faith that in God. Whenever you're like a lot of faith that there's lack of tangible evidence sometimes in your mind. If you overthink things like I'm want to do the books of prophecy because there's prophecy that has come true significantly, and the culmination of Christ into almost all of it, right? Except for the stuff that hasn't happened yet. So there's it. You can say that's like all right. There's it's there, right? So it's just one of those things to hold on to. But outside of that, outside of that, there is the understanding of God being disappointed in a people who should be his biggest fans, right? People who have every reason to be just carrying the banner of the Lord. And yet instead of being that people that have been set aside, that have established this a shining example of what it means to be um, in a covenant with the Lord, in harmony with God's with in harmony with God and what He wants from us and His commands and being obedient, but still at the same time giving grace, not just God giving it to us, but us giving it to each other and working with each other. And instead, what we get is a bunch of folks who can't wait for the next opportunity to worship a new god or to indulge in some pleasure of the flesh, right? Or what have you. Some opportunity to defraud their neighbor, all of that. And so there's punishment there's frustration, there's anger from the Lord the disobedience, the willful disobedience. But then we see the grace and the forgiveness. And that's why I say being a parent really opens your eyes on that. Those of you who have kids in this chat, y'all know what I'm talking about. The love that you have, that you can be frustrated, you can be disappointed at times, you can be worried for not being omniscient, right? And omnipotent. We have that worry of, how things are going to turn out. But at the same time, that contrition, that 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 apology, that repentance and everything or you see the desire to do good, and it just makes you want it. You just have that desire to be there with them and forgive them and bring them along and have them learn their lesson. And that's just a shadow of what God feels towards all of us. Right? That's why we had a sacrifice. That's why Christ came to do what he did. He did many things while he was here on earth. And there were many facets to that, but we'll get to that when we get to the Gospels. Tonight, now, look, we're in Daniel. So Jesus is going to make an appearance in this book. It's one of the greatest appearances of Christ at all, outside of the Gospels. So, but he's going to make an appearance in this book. But let's get into Daniel the man. And as King is saying, this should be good. Daniel has some real deep connections to the unseen realm. So we'll dive into that currently. Again, we're studying from we're reading from the Amplified translation, one that Haven't seen Yex in a while. We need to connect, get Yex back here in the chat. Haven't seen him yet, but he was the one, and I think one of two of Nernaeth might have been another one who kind of had me switch over to Amplified. I really do enjoy reading it this way. It appeals to my ADHD. So, all right. Daniel 1. The choice young men. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. The Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, along with some of the articles of the house of God, and he brought them into the land of Shinar, to the house of his God, and brought the articles into the treasury of his God. And the Babylonian king told Ashpenaz, the chief of his officials, to bring in some of the sons of Israel, including some from the royal family and from the nobles, young men without blemish and handsome in appearance, skillful in all wisdom, endowed with intelligence and discernment, and quick to understand, competent to stand in presence of the king, and able to serve the king in the king's palace. He also ordered Ashpenaz to teach them the literature and language of the Chaldeans. The king assigned a daily ration for them from his finest food and from the wine which he drank. They were to be educated and nourished this way for 3 years, so at the end of that time they were prepared to enter the king's service. Among them from the sons of Judah were Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. The commander of the officials gave them Babylonian names. Daniel, he named Belteshazzar. Hananiah, he named Shadrach. Mishael, he named Meshach. And Azariah, he named Abednego. Those of you guys who know this story, guys who know this account, know who we're introducing. It's not just Daniel here, who's based. His buddies, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, they do well for themselves as well. So what do we see here? Okay, so we're talking about Jehoiakim, Nebuchadnezzar coming in and laying siege and taking away, get these hat, taking away the treasury and the people. This is part of the exile, right? And so the king told his chief of staff, I guess, he wanted some of the young men, and he started to get worried. Some of the young men without blemish. Was he want pretty boys hanging around, right? That's the worry. But no, what he wants them for is he wants folks who can represent the king in his court. He wants them to not be misshapen in any way, right? Because it's about a lot of this is about appearances. So their appearance has to look good. They have to be smart. They have to be well spoken, right? And that's what they say. Blemish, handsome in appearance, skillful in all wisdom, endowed with intelligence and discernment, and quick to understand, competent to stand in the presence of the king, and able to serve in the king's palace. This isn't for somebody. He's not looking for the royal jester. He's not looking for someone to make fun of. These are people to kind of help him look good, because he's picking the finest young men from the people that he conquers and bringing them into his court. And then you're like, okay, so this guy's got his act together. He does that by getting assistants that have their act together. All right. So out of that, we get the 4 guys: Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Okay. And they're going to be educated, and he was like, the king assigned a daily ration for them from his finest food and from the wine in which he drank. So the king's food, the king's drink, right? And you're going to go through this preparatory school for 3 years, and they're going to learn to read and write in the Chaldean way. and learn how to basically present themselves at court. Daniel's resolve, but Daniel made up his mind that he would not defile, taint, or dishonor himself with the king's finest food or with the wine which the king drank. So he asked the commander of the officials that he might be excused so that he would not defile himself. Now, God granted Daniel favor and compassion in the sight of the commanders of the officials. And the commander of the officials said to Daniel, I am afraid of my lord the king, who has prearranged your food and your drink. For why should he see your faces looking more haggard than the young men who are your own age? Then you would make me forfeit my head to the king. But Daniel said to the overseer, whom the commander of the officials had appointed over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, please test your servants for 10 days, and let us be given some vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then let our appearance and the appearance of the young men who eat the king's finest food be observed and compared by you, and deal with your servants. Excuse me. And deal with your servants in accordance with what you see. So the man listened to them in this manner and tested them for 10 days. At the end of the 10 days, it seemed that they were looking better and healthier than all the young men who ate the king's finest food. So the overseer continued to withhold their fine food and the wine which they were to drink and kept giving them vegetables. As for these 4 young men, God gave them knowledge and skill in all kinds of literature and wisdom. Daniel also understood all kinds of visions and dreams. At the end of the time set by the king to bring all the young men in before him, the commander of the officials presented them to Nebuchadnezzar. The king spoke with them, and among them all was no one, and among them not. Hold on, let me let me start from the king spoke with them, and among them all, not one was found like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. So they were selected and assigned to stand before the king and enter his personal service. In every matter of wisdom and understanding about which the king consulted them, he found them 10 times better than all the learned magicians and enchanters, the Magi, in his whole realm. And Daniel remained there until the first year of the reign of King Cyrus over Babylon. Now this was at the end of the 76-year exile of Judah, the southern kingdom of Babylonia, as foretold by Jeremiah. So, all right, so we want to start off with the footnotes here a little bit, and I need to go back a little bit because we were talking about the Pharaoh Necho, not spelled the same way as our friend in the chat, Nico, or you could maybe Necho. Pharaoh Necho had killed Josiah, king of Judah, and installed Eliakim, Josiah's son, as vassal ruler. Necho changed Eliakim's name to Jehoiakim, and he ruled for 11 years. Right? We know that part. Nebuchadnezzar II of the Chaldean dynasty, more commonly known as Nebuchadnezzar the Great, ruled Babylon from 605 to 562. He conquered Jerusalem in 597. Not near none of one of them. I can't even do that, and I'm Southern. Daggone. But Matthew, yes, that's true. All right. Daniel 1:3 or eunuchs, and so throughout. What are we talking about? 1:3. Oh, chief of his eunuchs. Oh. See, let's stick with chief of staff, not chief with no staff. The Chaldeans dominated and ruled Babylonia from 625 BC until their empire fell in 539 BC. But they were known as early as 1000 BC as an aggressive tribal people in the southern region of Babylonia. They were highly skilled in both the science of astronomy and the pseudoscience of astrology. They kept meticulous records of celestial motion and correctly calculated the lengths of a year to in just a few minutes. I think we've read a similar footnote about this. Babylon, their capital city, was the center of trade and learning in the western part of Asia. The classical literature of the Chaldeans was written in cuneiform, but the common language, both written and spoken in Babylon, was Akkadian, increasingly influenced by Aramaic. Nice. So when they talk about a very aggressive tribal people, they might have had a reputation of as kind of barbarians, even though it seems that they weren't stupid people, and rarely are stupid people successful in in long campaigns or managing what they conquer. So it might have been, you know, part of Nebuchadnezzar's point behind all this to have people from a nation that was highly respected, even though not well liked, really, and there were certainly covetous eyes upon it. But we're talking about the nation that had Solomon. We're talking about a rich nation, a nation where people were blessed by God. So maybe he doesn't believe in that God, or he probably believes him in a little bit, but he worships different gods. But because of that, he wanted them around. Because he probably realized that was going to be something, you know, there's a value to that, not just appearance wise, but for coming from let's call it men of good breeding, men of good stock, right? And who had already been possibly, set up for success to be scholars within their own culture. And so I could see that being a motivation as to why he decided, hey, let's take some of these Israelites, these Hebrew people, and put them in my court, right? Because what we see happening is the four make the final cut. But before that, we see Daniel and his friends, really, but Daniel making the decision, I'm going to stand on principle. Even though he is a kid, right? He's a kid who is in a foreign land, who is under punishment. His people are under punishment of sanction of God. He decides, I know that he is presented with the temptation of being fed from the king's food, king's pantry, basically, right? And he could have done that. He could have eaten the king's food, drank the king's wine, but he wanted to make sure. Daniel makes a conscious effort to follow God's instructions. And we don't see God telling him, hey, Daniel, you need to make sure you're only eating this. No, Daniel's remembering the Mosaic law, the food law, right? This is before Jesus. They haven't changed it yet. Daniel says, no, I'm not supposed to eat this. I'm not gonna eat it. And I'm don't think that Ezekiel, I don't know, but my thoughts are that Ezekiel probably never saw Daniel, but if he had been there for that, he would have smiled, because the things that Isaiah and Jeremiah and Ezekiel are talking about throughout their prophecies, this is the type of man, this is the type of decision they're looking for the Israelites as a people to start making. Daniel says, no, I'm not going to eat this stuff. I know that maybe the king will get mad at me. Maybe they'll beat me. Maybe they'll even kill me. Right. But I'm not going to disobey God just because I'm in a foreign land and they worship a different God here. And just because, somebody else told with authority over me or power over me is telling me to, because what power does he really have over him? So Daniel stands on business and his friends stand there with him, right? And Daniel he comes across this entire book as just this very pleasant, soft, maybe not soft spoken, but polite, right? He is not here to be rude, to be sarcastic or anything, but he's very direct about this. And not in a way that puts people off. He's got that charm. He's got that charisma. And the commander of the officials, he tells him, he's like, look, I know you don't want to eat this food for whatever reason, because he doesn't believe. But he's like, for whatever reason, you've decided you're not allowed to eat this food because God says you're not allowed to. It's not my decision. And if I let you have your way, I'm putting myself at risk. Because if you and your 3 buddies come out looking like, these gaunt, malnourished young men compared to how the other servants, then, King's going to be pissed at me. He knows the buck stops with him. And Daniel goes, hey, look, how about this? Let's have our diet for 10 days. And you can keep the other servants on the king's diet. And after 10 days, let's compare notes. Let's compare how we look. And we're just going to eat vegetables and water. At the end of 10 days, if we look bad, deal with us as you see fit, right? But as much as we bag, as I am one to bag on vegetarians, the Lord's looking out for Daniel. And the Lord is not going to punish Daniel again for standing up and doing what he's supposed to do at a time where God is looking for precisely this. Daniel is exactly what the Israelites need representing them. And so God said, yes, you will look great. You and your buddies. Y'all are going to look great. So the man listened to him, right? At the end of 10 days, it seemed that they were looking better and healthier than all the young men who ate at the finest food. So guess what? As a result, God gave them knowledge and skill in all kinds of literature and wisdom. Man, it feels like gives them a little bit of what he gave Solomon. Knowledge and skill. Daniel also understood all kinds of visions and dreams. Hey, so a little bit of Solomon, a little bit of our boy Joseph. And so what we see is finally, right at the end of the 3 years, all the young men are presented before Nebuchadnezzar so he can basically choose. And he said, out of hold on. Near, not near, none one of them was like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. They stood out. They stole the show. They had God's blessing, and it started with them being obedient. It started with them having faith in God. It started with them taking that first step. And then God, and being prepared to take it the whole way. And then God goes, I got you, Danny. And that's how we start this one off. And also, in every matter of wisdom and understanding about which the king consulted them, so they're becoming close advisors, he found them 10 times better than all the learned magicians, enchanters in his whole realm. And Daniel remained there until the first year of the reign of King Cyrus over Babylon. Now, this was at the end of the 70-year exile of Judah. So he stayed there for a while. Oh, Daniel, first portions of food and wine would have been presented to idols before being served at the table. That's the big rub there, right? Yeah, attaboy. That's right. That's a big attaboy from God to Daniel. And then that's the problem with what was being offered to the king from the kings, that it was presented to idols. Cyrus the Great, founder of the Persian Empire, ruled from 559 to 529 BC. He conquered the Median, the Lydian, and the Neo-Babylonian kingdoms and formed the greatest empire the world had ever known at that point. He returned a remnant of the Jewish population from Babylon to Jerusalem, along with the edict to rebuild the temple. Nehemiah. So we haven't caught up to Nehemiah yet. Okay. So yes, and Matt, let me let me clarify that. That's the big. It wasn't that they weren't allowed to eat meat. This was unclean meat that had been offered before a false god. And look, if y'all have been paying attention at all to what we have been going over from Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel, what is God the angriest at them over? Worship of false gods, idols, and demons. And so this was Daniel understanding. Daniel gets it. He gets it. Veritax is here. What's going on, sir? I'd like to think there was a soda for this time period of Cyrus. It would be grape knee-high Maya. So I don't know why. First off, good dad joke. This is an old memory I've had. I did not enjoy church camp as a kid, but I do remember we had our group at church camp was everybody had to name their group after a soda. We were the disciples of Grape Knee High. If only I knew then, when I was 7 years old, about Nehemiah more, I could have come up with that great joke. It's like, no, we need to be Grape Knee High Maya. It's just a bad, just wasted potential. Wasted potential. Going on, Veritex? Hope everything's going well with you. All right, Daniel 2, chapter 2, the king's forgotten dream. In the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar had dreams which troubled and disturbed his spirit and interfered with his ability to sleep. Then the king gave a command to call the magicians, the enchanters, the sorcerers, and the Chaldeans to tell the king his dreams. So they came in and stood before the king. The king said to him, I had a dream, and my spirit is troubled and anxious to know the content and meaning of the dream. King's got a dream. Man, son, what does that remind you of? King has a dream, and he needs somebody to interpret it. I mean, you're not paying attention. You better find a stopping point soon on that, by the way. Are you going through walkthroughs? Are you cheating? What's on the one screen? A dude playing the game. Oh, you're looking for, okay. Okay. You're trying to somebody else tell you how to do it. It sounds like. I remember when we only had Nintendo Power. Peach Knee. I do not like peaches. Peach Knee High used to be my new wife's favorite. Not peach. I'm more tolerant of it than I used to be, but Jacoca Chin. Stop, sir. Stop. He told us about Saul. Good try. King needs an interpreter. King needs an interpreter. And what do you know? There it is. There it is. There's a man of you'll get it tomorrow. You'll get it tomorrow. Am I in the middle of a stream? How about this? Get yourself comfortable. Listen to Daniel chapter 2. It'll make you feel better. Thank you. Yes. Good try, Matthew. So, king needs a dream, or has a dream. I wonder who sent him the dream. God. Oh, look. There is a descendant of Abraham in my service, right? Then the Chaldeans said to the king in Aramaic, O king, live forever. Tell the dream to your servants, and we will declare the interpretation. Suck-ups. The king replied to the Chaldeans, my command is firm and unchangeable. If you do not reveal to me the content of the dream along with its interpretation, you shall be cut into pieces, and your houses shall be made a heap of rubbish. But if you tell me the content of the dream along with its interpretation, you shall receive from me gifts and rewards and great honor. So tell me the dream and its interpretation. I guess y'all should have waited for him to talk before opening your mouths going, oh, yeah, we'll figure it out. They answered again, let the king tell the dream to his servants, and we will explain its interpretation to you. The king replied, I know for certain that you are bargaining for time, because you have seen my command to you is firm and irrevocable. Or irrevocable, sorry. If you will not reveal to me the content of the dream, there is but one sentence for you. For you have already prepared lying and corrupt words, and you have agreed together to speak them before me, hoping to delay your execution until the situation is changed. Therefore, tell me the dream first, and then I will know with confidence that you can give me its interpretation. The Chaldeans answered the king and said, there is not a man on earth who can tell the king this matter, for no king, lord, or ruler has ever asked such a thing as this of any magician or enchanter or Chaldean. Furthermore, what the king demands is an unusual and difficult thing indeed. No one except the gods can reveal it to the king, and their dwelling is not with mortal flesh. Sir, God, not gods. Sir. It's the proper thing for them to have done when the king said, I had a dream and my spirit is troubled and anxious to know the content and meaning of the dream. Sir, this is a Wendy's. Might as well have been at Wendy's for all the good it was going to do. So they go, hey, well, tell us the dream, right? And that's look, we can all agree that's the appropriate way to start off with the interpretation of a dream, is hearing the dream. And the king's onto him. He's onto him, though, and he says, no. It's like going to the psychic, right? The psychic, you call the psychic hotline, right? Remember the old psychic hotlines? The joke that we always had as kids was, you know, they would ask you, are you 18 years or older? Why do they have to ask? They're psychic. How do you not know? You should already know. Same thing here. So he's on to him. He goes, no, you tell me what my dream is so I know that you can interpret it correctly. Ooh. So they go, and look, we all know they're false, but, you know, again, it's a reasonable request to say, tell me the dream first. Nobody has ever asked for this and made this a stipulation, and you're going to chop us into pieces and burn our houses down if we don't do what you ask, right? But the king's like, that's the demand. But if one of them was smart, it's like not even Joseph could tell Pharaoh the dream. Of course, Joseph probably could have. He had God on his side, but it's like even Pharaoh told Joseph the dream before he interpreted it. Because of this, the king was indignant and extremely furious and gave the command to destroy all the wise men of Babylon. So the decree went out that the wise men were to be killed, and they looked for Daniel and his companions to put them to death. Whoa! Daniel's probably like, whoa, wait a minute, wise men, I'm just a young dude. Like, we just got it. We just got into service. Then Daniel replied with discretion and wisdom to Arioch, the captain of the king's bodyguard, who had gone out to execute the wise men of Babylon. And he said to Arioch, the king's captain, why is the decree from the king so harsh and urgent? Then Arioch explained the matter to Daniel. He's just like, I'm here to kill you. Why? The king said so. He has a dream. They won't answer the dream. So you got to die. And he's like, whoa, why so fast? Arioch explained the matter to Daniel. So Daniel went in and asked the king to appoint a date and give him time so that he might reveal to the king the interpretation of the dream. Then Daniel returned to his house and discussed the matter with Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions, in order that they might seek compassion from the God of heaven regarding the secret, so that Daniel and his companions would not be executed with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. Yeah, no, you can get rid of those other pagan weirdos out there. dabbling in the magics that's supposed to be punishable by death anyway, but not us, right? So Daniel gets with his boys and he's like, hey, give me some time. You appoint a date and give a time. And what do we think? Daniel's probably going to do? Daniel's probably going to pray, right? Do we have any, hold on, he said he's out on bond. Yeah, that's right. Here, the funny thing is here, Matt, my daughter wants to do a stream. Daniel is the story that she wants to do. Babylon sages who were master astrologers, in addition to their native language, most people involved in government or trade could speak and write in Aramaic. At this point, the book of Daniel switches from writing in Hebrew to writing in Aramaic. Huh? He returns to writing in Hebrew in chapter 8. Something to keep in mind. All right. Nebi K, stop. He's just upset they didn't have enough of his favorite royal crown. Stop it, Veritax. Enough of that. It's Monday. Dare you. All right. All right. We still got a long way to go. All right. Then the secret was revealed to Daniel in a vision of the night. Then Daniel was blessed, and Daniel blessed the God of heaven. Daniel answered, blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and power belong to him. It is he who changes the times and the season. He removes kings and establishes kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and greater knowledge to those who have understanding. It is he who reveals the profound and hidden things. He knows what is in the darkness, and the light dwells with him. I thank you and praise you, O God of my fathers, for you have given me wisdom and power. Even now you have made known to me what we requested of you. For you have made known to us the solution to the king's matter. Daniel, what a G. Look at that guy. Great prayer. So Daniel went to Arioch, whom the king had appointed to destroy the wise men of Babylon. He went and said this to him, do not execute the wise men of Babylon. Bring me before the king, and I will reveal to the king the interpretation of his dream. Oh, so he's not just saving himself and his buddies. He's going to save all of them. Then Arioch hurriedly brought Daniel before the king and said this to him, I have found a man among the exiles of Judah who can explain to the king the interpretation of the dream. The king said to Daniel, whose Babylonian name was Belteshazzar, are you able to reveal to me the content of the dream which I have seen and its interpretation? Daniel answered the king and said, regarding the mystery about which the king has inquired, neither the wise men, enchanters, magicians, nor astrologers are able to answer the king. But there is a God in heaven who reveals secrets, and he has shown King Nebuchadnezzar what will take place in the latter days, end of days. This was your dream and the vision that appeared in your mind while on your bed. As for you, O king, as you were lying on your bed, thoughts came into your mind about what will take place in the future, and he who reveals secrets has shown you what will occur. But as for me, the secret has not been revealed to me because my wisdom is greater than that of any other living man. But in order to make the interpretation known to the king, and so that you may understand fully the thoughts of your mind. Oh, okay. I read that in a way that wasn't very clear. But as for me, the secret has not been revealed to me because of my wisdom, not been revealed to me because my wisdom is greater than that of any other man, but in order to make the interpretation known to the king, and so that you may understand fully the thoughts in your mind. So, so they bring him, and Daniel says, "Look, don't execute these people. I'm going to go stand before the king. We'll figure this whole thing out." So Daniel goes to before the king. Again, this is what by all accounts is a aggressive, warlike empire. So the king would be a part of that. They kind of follow that king's mood. He's appearing before this. He'd already just put a hit out or put a contract out to kill all the wise men in the nation. And he's standing before him. He's like, look, You've asked this of the wise men. They can't do that. Nobody can. But God can. And God has put these thoughts into your brain. He has sent you these visions, these dreams for you to understand. Now, he has revealed to me what it means, but it isn't because I'm so smart and I'm so wise. He's revealed it to me so I can make it known to you. And so here we go. You, O king, were looking, and behold, there was a single great statue. This image, which was large and of unsurpassed splendor, stood before you. And its appearance was awesome and terrifying. For this statue, its head was made of fine gold, its breast and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, its feet partially of iron and partly of clay pottery. As you were looking, a stone was cut out without human hands, and it struck the statue on its feet of iron, and clay crushed them. Then the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver, and the gold were crushed together and became like the chaff from the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away so that not a trace of them could be found. And the stone that struck the statue became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. There he goes, right? Daniel's laying it out. This was your dream. Debbie probably thought it was a sign he should get a sub to G. Stop it. Knock that off, sir. The interpretation, Babylon, the first kingdom. This was a dream. Now we will tell the king its interpretation. You, O king, are the king of earthly kings, to whom the God of heaven has given the kingdom, the power, the strength, and the glory. And wherever the sons of men dwell, and the beasts of the fields and the birds of the heaven, he has given them into your hand and has made you ruler over all of them. You, king of Babylon, are the head of gold. After you will arise another kingdom, Medo-Persia, inferior to you, and then a third kingdom of bronze, Greece under Alexander the Great, which will rule over all the earth. Rome, then the fourth kingdom, Rome, will be strong as iron, for iron breaks into pieces, or for iron breaks to pieces and shatters all things. And like iron, which crushes things in pieces, it will break and crush all these others. And as you saw the feet, toes, partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, it will be a divided kingdom, but there will be in it some of the durability and strength of iron, just as you saw the iron mixed with common clay. As the 10 toes of the feet were partly of iron and partly of clay, so some of the kingdom will be strong, and another part of it will be brittle. And as you saw the iron mixed with common clay, so they will combine with one another in the seed of men, but they will not merge, for such diverse things or ideologies cannot unite, even as iron does not mix with clay. In the days of those final 10 kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed, nor will its sovereignty be left for another people, but it will crush and put an end to all these kingdoms, and it will stand forever. Just as you saw that a stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it crushed the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great God has revealed to the king what will take place in the future, so the dream is true and its interpretation trustworthy. And y'all thought we were out of the books of prophecy. So King Nebuchadnezzar fell face downward and paid respect to Daniel as a great prophet of the highest God. Gave orders for an offering and fragrant incense to be presented to him in honor of his God. The king answered Daniel and said, "Most certainly your God is the God of gods and the Lord of kings and a revealer of mysteries, since you have been able to reveal this mystery." Then the king promoted Daniel to an exalted position and gave him many great gifts, and he made him ruler over the entire province of Babylon and chief governor over all the wise men of Babylon. And Daniel made a request to the king, and he appointed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon, while Daniel was at the court of the king. Yeah, stop. Waiting for a TurboTax person to call me. Ugh. Yeah, it's that time. Woo-wee! The amount of money I've paid in taxes this year. Oh. All right. So we listened to the dream. The dream was about a statue, right? And the statue was made head of gold, torso silver, right? Silver, thighs of bronze, legs of iron, feet partly of iron and partly of clay. It's talking about from Babylon, the great kingdom. That's gold. Persia will be next, and Greece, that'll be the silver and the bronze. Then Rome, iron, strong as iron. But then it starts to break into two types that won't meet. One will be iron, and another would be clay, because the two don't mix, right? And then the divine kingdom. And man, oh man, if it doesn't say, if this doesn't scream, Peter, you are the rock in which I will build this, you will build this church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. And where do we look? We're in the second chapter of Daniel. Now, mind you, a lot more compelling narrative. But look at what we're seeing here at the end. Babylon, which is taken over by Persia, which is taken over, which eventually falls to Greece, and Greece, which eventually gives way to the great Roman Empire. And under Rome is when Jesus makes his appearance in the flesh, right? And that's when the new covenant is struck, the Great Commission is given, the church is established, Rome becomes Christian, and then all of Christendom spreads like a wildfire out into Europe, into Africa, into Western Asia. Then across the Atlantic Ocean, into South America, into North America, right? It's all over. Now, certainly it's had its history. Certainly we have been a bit divided. But you can call this, you can see that while Satan certainly is trying to bring this kingdom down, we do fight back. And when I am, and this is the kind, this is the passage here that when people tell you Christianity is just a generation, this you will hear this from Christians who are right, who are concerned about the future of Christianity. It's just one generation away from disappearing. No, it's not. And no, it won't. And it hasn't. It's been around for 2,000 years. It has established one of the greatest cultures, nation-spanning cultures. And the only reason that our nations are suffering now within those cultures is because we've tried to take God out of it. We think that we've built that ourselves. We think that we can do things any way we want to, just as long as we we couch everything in freedom and liberty. Heaven's not a democracy. Heaven is a kingdom. And God is the king. Christ is the king. Holy Spirit, triune God, rules over all. We are all subjects to it, the entire universe. Okay? So this is not that's not the universe is not created because of democracy, right? And so that ought to be all you need to know from there. So Daniel tells the king what his visions were, and then he breaks this down into what they were, what it means. And King Nebuchadnezzar is at a loss. He has nothing else to do except for fall down and pay respect to Daniel. And I say, you certainly, the God that you worship is the greatest of all gods. He is the only God. Baby steps for Nebuchadnezzar. Gave orders. Promote this man. Gave him many great gifts. Made him ruler over the entire province of Babylon. Chief governor over all the wise men of Babylon. So this man is now Nebuchadnezzar's right hand man. Again, shades of Joseph, right? Of course, Daniel's got 3 buddies, and now they are now in charge of different facets of Babylonian business and affairs. So Daniel's interpretation of Nebuchadnezzar's dream outlines the further history of Gentile world power. The 4 metals of which the statue was made represented 4 successive empires, each with the power to rule the inhabited earth, though each stopped short of that. They were 1, Babylon, 2, Medo-Persia, 3, Greece under Alexander, and 4, Rome. The latter power was divided first into the 2 legs corresponded to the Eastern and Western Roman empires. Those your history, right? And then after a very long time, apparently, into the 10 toes, a confederacy made up of largely of European nations. The eternal kingdom of God, the messianic kingdom, will extend over all the earth. And those who reject Jesus, the Messiah, the stone, will be crushed. Christ is king, boy. Christ is king, fam. Ain't no getting around it. No. What are your thoughts on the Trump AI art pick thing? It was despicable. It was dumb. And he shouldn't have done it. And I don't know. A friend of mine said he's either senile or he's a liar or both. I don't know if it's that binary choice, because I don't know if maybe, but man, it really does smack of his spiritual immaturity and his hubris, and how much he thinks of himself. Like I've told you guys, he has done things for Christianity that have been good, for humanity that's been good, because he put those appointees on the Supreme Court to strike down Roe. And Roe is a liberal sacred cow. All right. But his faith is highly questionable. And all you had to do is see who he appointed in charge of faith. You knew there was trouble. When he said something about being a doctor, he didn't seem to understand why someone would think it was Jesus. He's still in diapers if he's a Christian. Yeah, I don't know. He's a lot. Trump's not an idiot. I know that the left tries to say, "Oh, Trump's dumb. Trump's dumb." He's not stupid. And that would be, Paula White is absolutely a heretic. And the fact that he put her in charge was a bad first move. And this is he has made a lot of mistakes recently, and you can say that he is being punished for this. So because things aren't going his way, which is unfortunate, because there's a lot of potential there, but I think he has wildly overplayed his hand over the last few months, and it has been very disappointing to see. So Yeah, no, some people are looking for a reason to be upset, but Christian Twitter has appropriately condemned this. And I think that was pretty evident with the fact that it got taken down. Um, Trump needs to understand that the evangelicals, they don't like that. They don't think that's funny. And you can talk about us being uh so he may have thought it was. Do you think he thought it was St. Luke? He thought it was St. Donald. It's St. DJT. Uh I just think that this is not a good. He has not made a lot of good decisions. Um, Recently, I think that he's just a little bit of. I don't know what's going on. Bad people around him. So anyway, that's the thing. Thought it was really bad, really poor taste. Thought that he's going to have to answer for that. He needs to repent. Paula White's not. I doubt Paula White does anything about it. Because she's Paula White, and hopefully, and him going after the Catholics, I don't think, or the Pope, I don't think this is the right venue for that. Um, this is just not right now. Oh, but it's hilarious. Calvinist deterministic strain getting bent out of shape over it, but they are the same preachers who will tell you God predetermined it all. Yeah. Well, I'm not that, but I will tell you all of the online Christian circles are rightfully condemning it because it was, like I said, at best it's in poor taste. Um, but this is this is what we've got, right? This was the closest thing we got for person we could get to somebody who would represent the interests of common sense. He's not the best we can do to represent God. So, yeah. But yeah, no, I know why you get on there, Chloe. It's like, well, this is all supposed to happen. All right, we're gonna turn in for the night. We got a lot more Daniel to go. I say that Daniel's not a long. Daniel's not. Daniel's only 12 chapters. And Daniel's not a long time. We got a lot of Daniel to go. Said if there were people I recognize as Orthodox Christians calling it out, there were. I couldn't see them out of the crowd from the other side that wouldn't think Trump could drink coffee right. No, it was across the board. Honest Youth Pastor, he called it out very well. He's been on this show. A couple of other people, I think Hans Feeney had something to say about it. I know a couple of Orthodox Christians who've expressed disappointment over it. So, like I said, it's not a lot of it is just like, are you serious? You serious? Dummy. So, but guys, again, he's very immature in his faith. If it's there, we hope it is. Pray for it for him, just like I pray for it to everybody. But and it's not drink coffee, right? It's Kovivi, sir. Kovivi. All right. So we're gonna turn in Veritax, Matt Felty. Where's King? See the last one. King, Dresden, Big. That's the group tonight. Great chat tonight. Great chat tonight. Always glad to have you. So happy that we started on this. Such a good book. It's one of my favorites. And just great lessons within a great narrative. So thank you guys for being in the chat. Y'all are awesome. I love y'all. Keep it up. Please keep coming up. House needs to close next week. I hope it does for you. But yeah, everybody who's not in the chat, who's just listening, glad you're here. Understand you might not want to or able to be in the chat. I just want you to know you have my invitation and you hear from me. I want to hear from you. So just glad that you keep tuning in. And those of you who are catching this on replay, thank you for watching. I'm sorry I missed you live. I hope to catch you live sometime soon. Everybody have a good night and God bless.